Section 4.2, Addition Rules for Probability. We'll begin by talking about some properties of probability. We know that the probability of an event, denoted P parentheses E, has to be between 0 and 1 inclusive, which means the probability that something will certainly not happen is 0, and the probability that something certainly will happen is 1, and everything else is in between. For any sample space, the sum of the probabilities of the sample space is equal to 1, and the probability of an event not in the sample space is equal to 0. In other words, the probability for the empty set is equal to 0. The complement of an event E, denoted E superscript C, or E with a line over it, which means not E, is the set of all outcomes in the sample space that are not in E. For instance, in your area, 91% of phone customers use phone south. Describe the complement of the event. Since the event contains phone south customers, everyone who's not a phone south customer is in the complement. Thus, the complement contains the other 9% of phone customers in your area. For example 1, we are to describe the complement of an event. For A, choose a red card out of a standard deck of cards. Since a standard deck of cards contains 26 red and 26 black cards, all 26 red cards are contained in the event, and the complement contains all 26 black cards. B, out of 31 students in your statistics class, 15 are out sick with the flu. In this case, since 15 students are out with the flu, the complement contains the other 16 students who are not sick. Now that we understand the complement, let's discuss the complement rule for probability. We know that the sum of all events in a sample space is equal to 1. Therefore, the probability that an event will occur, E, and the probability of its complement, EC, is equal to 1, or PE plus PEC is equal to 1. This rule is especially helpful for at least problems. For instance, the probability that I'll roll at least 2 2s is equal to 1 minus the probability that I don't roll at least 2 2s, or that I only roll 1 2, which is much easier to compute. We're now going to begin setting up our spreadsheet for 4.2. And for right now, all we've discussed is the complement, but again, feel free to pause and set up your spreadsheet according to this template for all of section 4.2. But for complement, I actually have 2 different ways to compute this. So sometimes we're given the probability. So the complement probability would just be 1 minus the original probability for P of X. Sometimes instead we're given X and N, so 3 out of 15. So the complement would be 1 minus 3 divided by 15. So there's 2 different ways to compute the complement. Just as before, whenever I compute a probability, I always make the outcome 4 decimal places. So you can right click and go to Format Cells, and then go to Number, and then 4 decimal places. So that's how you do that for your own spreadsheet. For examples 1 and 2, we are to compute the complement of a specific event. For example 1, if you are worried that there is a 35% chance that you will fail your upcoming test, what's the probability that you will pass the test? So again, I can either answer this here, and I would simply enter equals 1 minus 0.35. So ensure that you're turning that 35% into a decimal, and that would give me 0.65. Or I can always go to the spreadsheet that I have set up and say that the probability I'm given is 0.35, and so the complement, or not P, would be 0.65. For example 2, if there's a 5% chance that none of the items on a scratch-off lottery ticket will be a winner, what's the probability that at least one of the scratch-off items will win? Again, this is just going to be a complement question. 5% chance, be very careful, is 0.05. So there is a 95% chance. Let's take a closer look at using the complement rule for probability. If we're to roll a pair of six-sided die, what's the probability that neither die is a 3? So we could list all 36 outcomes in the sample space and then count how many don't have a 3. But it's much easier to count the outcomes in the complement. The complement of this event contains the outcomes in which either die is a 3. So we're going to make a list using a pattern of all of the outcomes in which either die is a 3. We can use a pattern to say that the value of the first die thrown is 3. The second die would then be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we could repeat that process by setting the value of the second die to be equal to 3. And then the first die would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So you can see in this case that we have a total of 11 outcomes. Now we know there are 11 outcomes where at least one of the die is a 3, which means we can find the complement of the event. So if we enter 11 out of 36 total outcomes, the complement of that is 1 minus 11 divided by 36, 25/36, or 0.6944. This brings us to the addition rule for probability. For two events, E and F, the probability that E or F occurs is given by the formula probability of E or F is equal to the probability of E plus the probability of F minus the probability of E and F. What this means is that the probability of E and F is the intersection of the two sets, or the probability that an outcome occurs in both event E and F. We're going to look at this visually in a diagram on the next slide. But basically, we're subtracting the intersection of sets because it's counted both in the probability of E and the probability of F, so we have to subtract it once. Visually, we can see that if we let the first oval represent the probability of A occurring and the second oval represent the probability of B occurring, that part in the middle is considered the intersection. So note here we're using probability of A intersect B. In English language, that's just A and B. So if we find the probability of A, note that it includes the intersection, and the probability of B includes the intersection. Therefore, we have to subtract the intersection once to represent the entire probability. Now that we've learned the addition rule for probability, let's go ahead and set up our spreadsheet. Again, note that I have two different ways to compute the addition rule. One where I'm given P, which is the probability of A and B, and the probability of the intersection, and one where I'm given the outcomes in A, the outcomes in B, the outcomes in the intersection, and the total number of outcomes. For the probability of A or B, I would add the two probabilities and subtract the intersection. For the probability given raw numbers, I would add the number of outcomes in A and B and subtract the number of shared outcomes and divide that by the total number of outcomes. For example 4, we're to use the addition rule for probability. Roll a pair of die. What is the probability of rolling either a total less than 4 or a total equal to 10? The keyword "or" tells us to use the addition rule. So the probability of rolling a sum less than 4 or a sum of 10 is equal to the probability of a sum less than 4 plus the probability of 10 minus the probability that the sum is both less than 4 and 10. Now we can see by listing our outcomes that there is one outcome that is 2, two outcomes for a sum of 3, and there are 3 outcomes for a total of 10, and there are no outcomes in common. So I'm going to use the addition rule given x and n, and we can see that there are 3 outcomes for A, 3 outcomes for B, and 0 outcomes shared. The total outcomes is 36, and so our result is 0.1667. For example 5, again we're going to roll a pair of die. What is the probability of rolling either a total more than 9 or an even total? Let's list the ways that we could get a total more than 9. So a total of 10 would be 4 and 6, 5 and 5, or 6 and 4. A total of 11 would be 5 and 6, 6 and 5. And a total of 12 would be 1, 6 and 6. Outcomes in B would be any values that are even. So we've got a sum of 2, which is one way, a sum of 4, which is 1 and 3, 2 and 2, or 3 and 1, a sum of 6, in which there are 5 ways, a sum of 8, which there are 5 ways, a sum of 10, which there are 3 ways, and a sum of 12, which there is 1 way. In the shared outcome, we're looking for any outcomes that are both greater than 9 or even. So that would be a total of 10 or a total of 12. As we found here, the total of 10 was 3 ways and the total of 12 was 1. So that would be equals 3 plus 1 or equals 4. And again, there's still 36 ways. 3 plus 1, which is 4. And we can see then that the probability of rolling a sum greater than 9 or an even sum would be 0.5556. Example 6, using the addition rule for probability. Suppose that after a vote in the U.S. Senate on a proposed healthcare bill, the following table shows the breakdown of the votes by party. If a lobbyist stops a random senator after the vote, what is the probability that this senator will either be a Republican or have voted against the bill? So we're going to let outcome A be Republican. So in A, we're going to find all Republicans. Republicans would be 43 plus 7. Outcomes in B would be those that voted against the bill. So voted against would be 21 plus 7 plus 4. The shared outcomes would be Republicans who voted against the bill, and so that would be 7. So for the total number of outcomes, we know that there are 100 senators, but of course you could also add up 23 plus 21 plus 43 plus 7 plus 2 plus 4. And our probability would be 0.75 or 75%. Mutually exclusive events are events that do not have any outcomes in common, which would mean their intersection is 0. So remember our previous example, we were rolling a pair of die. What was the probability of rolling either a total less than 4 or a total equal to 10? And that intersection was 0. So those events are mutually exclusive because they do not share any outcomes. There is a separate addition rule for mutually exclusive events, and note it looks the same as our former general addition rule, except that it doesn't include minus the probability of E and F, and that's because that intersection is 0. However, it's best just to remember the general addition rule because it always works whether or not the events are mutually exclusive. Example 7. Caleb is very excited that it's finally time to purchase his first new car. After much thought, he has narrowed his choices down to 4. Because it has taken him so long to make up his mind, his friends have started to bet on which car he will choose. They have given each car a probability based on how likely they think Caleb is to choose that car. Devin is betting that Caleb will choose either the Toyota or the Jeep. Find the probability that Devin is right. So first, we should take a look at the probabilities given to us. We can see that if we add 0.4, 0.1, 0.15, and 0.35, the total is 1. Note that there's no overlap between any of the categories and the sum of the sample space is 1. That means when I'm finding the probability of A and B is going to be 0 because the intersection will be 0. So if we're finding the probability that it's either a Toyota or a Jeep, we're going to add the probability of a Toyota, which is 0.4, and the probability of Jeep, which is 0.35, for a total probability of 0.75 or 75%. For our final example, example 8. At a certain major exit on the interstate, experience tells us that the probabilities of a truck driver refueling at each of the 5 possible gas stations are given in the table below. If the truck driver will refuel at only one of the gas stations, thus making the events mutually exclusive, what is the probability that the driver will refuel at Shell, Exxon, or Chevron? So here we can see that our spreadsheet only has room for 2, but we're just going to make this work. We're going to take Shell, which is 0.3207, plus Exxon, which is 0.2793. And for B, we're going to use Chevron. So Chevron is 0.1539. There is no intersection, so it's mutually exclusive. So the probability that the driver will refuel at one of the 3 selected gas stations is 75.39%.